Hi everyone, welcome to the Waffle Flower channel. Katie Gehring here, and by special request I have a Throwback Thursday to share with you today using the A Bunch stamp set along with the Celebrate word die. So to start, I'm going to be pulling out my stamp set called A Bunch, and this features some really fun daisy type flowers, and there's an outline as well as solid images that are included. I'm going to be using the outline of the daisies today because I'm going to be coloring them in using Waffle Flower inks in My Pleasure, Oh Happy Day, You Said What, Chirp Chirp, and Daydreaming. The cardstock that I'm going to be using is Distress Watercolor cardstock. I'm going to be using a basic water brush, and I'm going to be using Distress ink and antique linen, which is my go-to for using a no-line watercoloring technique because once it is stamped onto the watercolor cardstock and you add your watercolor medium, the lines really seem to disappear just like magic. My first step is going to be to stamp the daisy outlines onto the watercolor cardstock using the antique linen distress ink. I'm just kind of creating a loose border around the outside edge of my card. I've also created some masks using basic post-it notes, and I am using those to kind of tuck some daisies behind other ones in clusters and just kind of stamp this outside border. So I'm going to be finishing that up. I'm sorry it's super hard to see on the camera because the ink is so light, but it is there. The daisy outlines are there. And now I am going to start adding the watercolors. And to do that, I'm just using my Waffle Flower Color Story inks. I'm going to be using My Pleasure, Oh Happy Day, and then also Daydreaming. And I smush the ink onto an acrylic block, and then I'm picking up a little bit of the color with a water pen and adding it to the flowers. I'll continue working in this fashion around the outside edge of my card and just picking up a little bit of the ink that I smushed onto the block with my water pen and then transferring it to the cardstock. Now I am working today on top of one of those silicone non-stick mats, so you actually could just smush your ink directly onto the mat. I am opting, however, to use an acrylic block because I have a tendency to be a little bit clumsy, and there might be some extra unintended ink transfer onto my project if I were to smush the ink directly onto the mat. But hey, I'm all for simplicity, so if that's something that works for you, by all means, you can give it a shot with this mat. So now I've moved on to the yellowy orange color. It's the Oh Happy Day, and I am adding that to the card, and I'm trying to at least make sure that the red flowers that are butting up against the yellow are dry before I add my ink because I don't want the ink colors to muddy up too badly. And the last color that I'm going to be adding to the flowers at least is going to be the Daydreaming, which is a really beautiful blue. And as I am coloring them, I'm trying to go right up to the line that I had stamped with the antique linen. And because Distress ink has a tendency to be water activated, it mixes with the watercolor dye inks and really blends away nicely. So it looks like there is no line. So once I have all of the basic colors added to my card, I'm going back and with a very fine detail brush and adding just a little bit more shading and detail to the daisy colors, just to give them a little bit more interest and variation. Now it's time to add some greenery to the card. So I've grabbed Chirp Chirp, and then there's this adorable little heart that it's included in the A Bunch stamp set. And so I am stamping that repeatedly to create kind of a leafy vine shape around the outside of the card. So I will add these beautiful leaves to the daisies and stamp those around the outside. My final step as far as these flowers are concerned is to add the flower centers using the coordinating stamps that are included in the stamp set. And I've pulled out the You Said What light yellow ink to do that. This is a great quick way to add the flower centers. The stamp set was actually designed to be super simple two-step stamping. So if you don't have time or you don't feel like doing any type of fancy coloring techniques, you can always just pull out your ink and do some basic two-step stamping. Now I've pulled out the Celebrate Word die, and I am going to be die cutting it several times to create kind of a thick and chunky sentiment. I am going to die cut it first using just some basic white cardstock, and then I'm going to be stacking that up and then adding a layer of gold on top to give it some really fun shine and pop. Once all of the pieces are die cut, I'm just going to pop out the centers of the letters using a craft pick, stack them together, and then use the spray adhesive. And this is just some random tissue paper that I had lying around to protect my work surface to stack them all together. Now to add a little bit of extra shine, I am using the Heidi Swapp Color Shine in gold with an acrylic block kind of covering the center, just to make sure that I don't get too much extra spray ink in places that I don't want. I've added some spray adhesive to the back of the Celebrate sentiment, and I'm adhering that to the card. Now my final step is going to be to add some clear sequins using Ranger's matte medium that I'm going to actually just squirt out onto my craft mat, and then you can dip your sequins in it and then place them using either your fingers or a pick. So I am finishing up this card with the placement of a final few sequins. If there is a stamp set that you would like to see featured on an upcoming Throwback Thursday, just leave me a comment. For more product information, visit waffleflower.com. Follow us on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook for more creative ideas. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.